United States government has approved a possible foreign military sale to Nigeria of munitions, precision bombs, precision rockets, and related equipment valued at $346 million. The approval was contained in a statement from the Defense Security Corporation Agency. The agency said it had notified the U.S. Congress of the potential sale. Now, former Nigerian Air Force spokesman, retired Group Captain Sadeeq Shehu joins me now to discuss the likely impact of the latest decision by the U.S. government to sell arms to Nigeria to fight insurgency and how it could improve security in the country. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday this afternoon. Now, the U.S., of course, recently approved a major arms sale to Nigeria, including some cutting-edge hardware, 12 AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters, large quantities of precision-guided munitions. I would like you to walk us through the specific weapons and military technologies involved in this deal and their strategic utility for Nigeria's defense. How do these capabilities help fill some gaps in our current military arsenal?
It is a very good news that finally the American government has agreed to finally go ahead and supply Nigeria with this weaponry, which includes an assortment of items. But I want Nigerians to understand that the Nigerian Air Force in particular has been waiting for these items for the past 2 years. But like we continue to, enlighten at every time, whether for our political office holders, getting these weapons sometimes can be very tedious, even if you have the money. It's not just about going to give your money and you get it. Like I said, for 2 years, these weapons have been expected. Why? Because in the United States, there are a lot of background negotiations involving multiple agencies before this equipment are finally released. So even when you pay the money, there are a lot of agencies, American agencies within the executive branch, within the Department of Defense, within the State Department, that is their own foreign affairs. So many agencies, so many sectors that have to be, and again, unlike in other democracies, in the American democracy, the permission of the Senate, one senator voting against a sale can hold a prospective sale to any third African country of American weaponry. So this is what happened, and this sale is very important because, like the Nigerian military, whether the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army, we still have a lot of American weaponry in our system. And, these weaponries, apart from the weapons themselves, they have a lot of consumables. They have some fast-moving items, some spares, some bombs, some rockets, which from time to time, as the operation goes, you can get exhausted. So periodically, you have to review. And you can agree with me, if you have a weapon system and you don't have the weaponry attached to it, then it is as good as you don't have a weapon. So this is what is happening. But again, like I said, a lot of background negotiation with many agencies, with Nigeria requesting, if we will recall, I think the Chief of Army Staff made several trips to the United States to go and negotiate for these things. But at the long run, this is the culmination of all those something. But then, we must admit that what made the United States finally to approve the release of these weapons after 2 years. Like I said, under their democracy, whenever they sell any American weaponry, there is a Senate requirement to continue going to see how that equipment is being used, even in the country of purchase. There are certain conditions, like human rights training, like collateral harms mitigation, like protection of civilians. There are committees and there are powerful senators that can stop this deal if they are not satisfied. So what the point I'm trying to say, in the last Nigerian Air Force Day, the Nigerian Air Force launched what it calls civilian harm tracking system. Now, the truth is that the Americans are following all these developments. So definitely there must have been this and other things that the Nigerian Air Force did, which convinced the lawmakers in America that now the possibility of this equipment being used to harm civilians has been greatly reduced. So I must say that this new thing we are saying is as a result of something that the current Nigerian Air Force is doing. Like I said, remember, for 2 years they have been waiting for this consignment, but it did not come.
All right. Well, I like the fact that you mentioned compliance issues and possible risk associated. Looking past looking at past U.S. military assistance to Nigeria, there have been hurdles. For instance, the proposed $875 million sale of attack helicopters that was stalled by Congress in 2021 as a result of human rights concerns. But then by 2022, Washington went ahead with its largest ever weapons offer to Nigeria. So what lessons can we draw from earlier U.S.-Nigeria security cooperation, so for instance, the Super Tucano aircraft delivery and training programs, about what works and what doesn't work?
Well, what works is that the truth is that the Nigerian armed forces will continue to rely on American technology. I hear some people dismissively saying, why don't we leave American weapons and go for Chinese or go for Turkish? Yes, there are alternatives. But then certain things you have to get from the Americans. And the American technology is so large that sometimes even for equipment that is not American made, you'll find that some components are from American companies. And what Americans do, like for example, even the Tucano we're talking about, it is originally an aircraft manufactured by Brazil. But the issue is that there are some vital components on the Tucano that are manufactured in America, without which the Brazilians will not be able to manufacture. So what the Americans do is that if they supply American technology to any equipment, they tie it contractually that you cannot sell to a third party until we give our say-so. How do they give our say-so? We continue hearing of the Leahy law. Leahy is named after an American senator who is still in the Senate for over 30 years. He is particularly, interested about human rights, about how American equipment are used all over the world. So he's so powerful in the Senate that any sales, he has to get his buy-in that the equipment is not going to be misused. So the lessons we are learning is that for us to get Western and American equipment, our armed forces must be trained in international humanitarian law. They must be trained in rules of engagement. They must be trained in civilian harm mitigation. And here, the current leadership of the Nigerian Air Force has been doing a lot. And it's as a result of reports that the Americans get, either from their embassy staff, either from visit, because when they sell the weapon, they even have the rights to come and inspect where the weapons are kept, how you are using them. And they receive feedback. So if there is any initial holdback, what you are doing might make them to relax. And that is exactly what we are seeing. So these are the lessons that we have to learn. If we are going to continue, we hope, we pray, a time will come where we do not have to rely on American equipment so that we will not go under these sanctions. On the other hand, if you talk of China or you talk of Russia and maybe to some extent Turkey, they may not insist on these human rights safeguards. But then again, I say as an expert on human rights, I don't think there is anything bad if we are even told that our armed forces will have to train on human rights. Because the human rights, if they are violated, who is going to suffer? It is Nigerian citizens. So to be honest with you, I always liken it like a parent that is maltreating his child. And then somebody from outside said, look, mister, this is not how you treat your child. You treat him decently. So definitely it makes it difficult for us to get the equipment. But it is not really a bad thing if it is insisted that our forces must train on human rights. This is under American law. So for them, we have to understand, while the economic aspect is very important, they want African money, but then their democracy is so much that for you to get American equipment, you have to follow certain regulations and certain procedures.
All right, that's a very valid point now. I mean, we know that U.S. arms sales typically come with a very strict human right condition and end-use monitoring, like you rightly said, mandated bylaws like the Healy Act to ensure that forces do not commit abuses. And you've spoken extensively about Nigeria's preparedness to address some of these concerns and comply with the conditions attached to deal. Now, you also spoke about other countries. We know Nigeria has long balanced relationship with multiple great powers in its defense procurement. In recent years, China reportedly accounted for over 1/3 of Nigeria's arms imports. The U.S. supplied only around 2%. Nigeria even inked agreements to acquire arms and training from Russia in 2021. Now, in light of these new arms deal with Washington, what are the implications for our ties with Beijing, Moscow? Does this signal a pivot in Nigeria's defense alignment toward the U.S.? If so, could it also strain partnerships with other countries like, China or Russia?
Well, I think right from when Nigeria gained independence, there is something that has been consistent. That is, whether in words or in act, but specifically in terms of arms procurement for our armed forces, Nigeria has maintained a non-aligned posture. What do I mean by a non-aligned posture? If they have something good from China, they buy it from China. If they have something good from Russia, they buy it from Russia. If they have something good from US, they buy it from US. Now, the issue is this. There is even a strategy in doing this, where you have multiple countries from which you are buying. Like we say, international relations, today's friend could be tomorrow's enemy. If there's any rupture with one country, you still have an option of going to another country. So I think Nigerian policymakers, for many years, they have been following that. We are not strict, we are not exclusively American in terms of purchase. We are not exclusively Chinese. We are not exclusively Russian. All these countries, if you take the armories of Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, and Nigerian Air Force, you will find equipment from these countries, including other countries like Pakistan and the rest. Like even Brazil, you will find all this. So what Nigeria does, as far as purchase of arms is to have many partners. But again, I want you to understand, each of these arms manufacturing countries, they have, there are areas where actually they are on top. If you are looking for precision, definitely you are going to the Americans. If you are looking for precision, but then middle of the range price, then maybe you can go to Turkey, you can go to China. So this is the issue. Nigeria cannot even afford to say that we are only buying from this country for the reasons I outlined. What if you fall out with that country? Your armed forces is left very naked. So what Nigeria is doing is to kind of manage this relationship. Our buying from America will not be allowed to affect our bilateral relationship with China or with Russia. So we buy where we want. Like I said, all these equipments, you find them from all these countries. Nigeria has them.
Sadeeq Shehu, former Nigerian Air Force spokesman, thank you so much for joining us today on Newsday.